What's up, everyone, and welcome into the Buffalo Sports Collective. It is Friday, January 17th, 2025. As always, I am PK alongside my co-host, Phil, episode 326. Phil, this is the most snow we've had all year. It's been a nice winter. I think it's going to be really, really cold next week, but we haven't had that, and knock on wood, we have not had that big blizzard of snow yet, which I'm anticipating happening probably in February, maybe March. It could even happen in April or May. But it has been a decent winter so far, but this was the first actual decent amount of snow that fell. How did you get hit further south than I did?
We had a lot. I think the biggest thing with the amount we had was it just didn't seem to be predicted very well. I mean, keep an eye on the weather in general. But I knew today it was supposed to snow, and best I could tell, everything was saying like 1 to 2 inches at best kind of situation. And it just kept snowing, and not only snowing, it kept piling up and up and up and up, and it just kept coming. So got a lot more than that. Yeah, and like snow drifts and things, especially with the way I have to move the snow around my driveway. I ended up getting in some areas which were taking up the entire snow blower. Did pretty well, though. Did pretty well overall. It was pretty warm as far as weather goes. Like, if it wasn't a work day and it wasn't a have to use a snowblower kind of day, it would have been, I think, one of your it's fun to snowblow kind of days, because it really wasn't cold. It wasn't really, I mean, it was a little windy, but it wasn't brutal. So even when I was throwing snow around, it wasn't whipping in my face, which was nice because it does that a lot. But it was pretty, I don't know, cozy, and the snow that was coming down was big and fluffy. So it was very pretty, but it was definitely a lot more than I had anticipated. At my job, I was hoping to do roof work tomorrow, and I think that is out the window, which stinks because tomorrow, last I saw, was supposed to be warmer, and that means I probably have to move it to next week when it's supposed to be, a good old high of like 10. So it's gonna be gross, and I am not looking forward to it.
Yeah, sorry if you're watching on YouTube. I'm dying over here. I ate tacos before started recording, and kind of backed up a little, and I got some hot sauce in my mouth from coughing, and I'm dying over here. My eyes are actually watering. But I agree with you. I was dumb because everybody knows I've fully moved into my house now. Everything's over here. Been done with the falls for well over a month now. In that whole process, I never started my snowblower. So I'm afraid to try to start it up for the first time right now. I know it's going to start up. It's not that old. I'm not really worried about it starting up. It's more that I haven't done it yet. And I was in like, okay, I have to get the driveway shoveled before the wife comes home and, trudging through all the snow and stuff. So it's been sitting in my shed since the move. It's been sitting in a shed unstarted for well over a year now. So it's just been shovel duty. I have my driveway currently is a lot better set up than it was in the falls, because it's bigger, it's wider, but I have grass on pretty much both sides. I don't have like what you have where it's just like a tunnel of like house and fence. So you kind of have to push it like end to end. I can go side to side, which is nice, but it goes and then it opens up, and the open up part, like, I like to go like side to side on the driveway, just like when I'm shoveling back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
That's fair.
When I'm shoveling that big part, I got to go like front to back, but it's like, because the driveway like jets out, when it's a bad pattern. Like I'm trying to perfect it, but I think it's going to take a couple seasons to be able to affect it. So, I gotta, maybe when it's super cold out next week, when it's not supposed to snow, or maybe even this weekend, Saturday, when it's supposed to be nicer, I'll go back there and start it up. That way I'm prepared next snowfall. But let us know how you handled
the last snowfall we had earlier in the season that was decent. I don't even know I think I told you, but I had fired up my snowblower a few months in advance to make sure she ran and she was good, and went to fire her up that day after a really long day of work and could not get it started for anything. and super frustrating. Ended up having to hand shovel everything, which was annoying. And eventually had to have my dad come over, and we tore apart the carburetor, took a ton of stuff apart, cleaned it all out, and haven't had a problem since. I think there was literally, because like we bought ours around the same time, and so it's pretty new, and I think there was literally like one speck of dirt on the carburetor pin that we had to clean out that was like the reason it wouldn't fire. So after we cleaned the speck of dirt off and put it all back together, I haven't had a problem since, and I've ran it multiple times now, literally on one pole, even in the freezing weather with like no electric start or anything, just manual pull one time. It seems to fire up without a problem. So annoying that the time I needed it after testing it, making sure like you don't know if yours is going to work. Like I tested it, made sure it was working, it was fine, went to use it, couldn't get it to start for anything, and then now we're good though. We seem to be good again. So
Yeah, maybe I just won't start mine, and then I'll just always go on the assumption it's always going to work, and then I'll just shovel. But yeah, Corey canceled gym, so I was like, I won't even try. I'll just use this as my gym to shovel. So
that's right.
Yeah, let us know how you conquered the first decent snowstorm, at least
at least in. I don't know, what do we...
The northern part of the snow
I know
country.
Orchard Park and you guys are getting hammered like crazy, but the northern areas, this was our first big one.
It's your fault for living down in snow country. Like, if you don't like it, you can just come north. Like, we get snow and we get cold, but it's nothing like, I don't know, 45 to an hour below us. So, deal with it. I don't feel bad for you. You chose to live there. It's your fault.
South Towns.
Yeah, your South Towns. Good luck. Get a snowblower that goes like double wide or something. They gotta make like a double wide snowblower. I know they exist, and they're kind of like a in
joke?
front of trucks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like, I want like an industrial one that's like double wide, like a double wide snowblower. But that's enough snow talk. Remember, you can follow us Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok while it still exists. Probably won't exist by our next video that's being pumped up. Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky, Buffalo Sports Co. Don't forget to follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts. We're literally everywhere that you can find podcasts, YouTube, where you can find the video version, or Apple, Spotify, iHeart, literally everywhere that podcasts were on it. Check out our website at buffalosportscollective.com. Phil's article dropped on Tuesday talking about the Toronto-Buffalo matchup. My power rankings dropped yesterday on Thursday. You can check both of those out once again, buffalosportscollective.com. Check out our store on our link tree on our social media sites, or at the top of the website by hitting the shop tab. You can represent the BSC on the go. If you didn't get one for the Christmas gifts, maybe you got a gift card or money for Christmas, you can spend it at the BSC store. And look for the time breakdowns in the description of the show. The NFL hates us. So the worst time possible for our recording schedule. They did not consult with us this year. A little bit annoying, but the Bills play the Ravens 6:30 Sunday. We're probably going to be recording right after that game, and the episode will probably come out a little bit later than normal on Monday because I'll be waking up and editing it and putting it right out. So maybe midday Monday you'll get it. But Phil came up with this idea last week. We're going to continue it into this week because the Bills are 1-0 when we did it. It's what player besides Josh Allen needs to step up for the Bills to advance? And for this one, they're advancing to their first AFC Championship game since the dreaded 13 seconds when we had to record literally right after. But Phil, last week you picked Tyler Bass. I believe he went 5 for 5 on all of his kicks. I had Gregory Rousseau. He was a very impactful player. I think I actually noticed Von Miller more than Gregory Rousseau, but that did not mean Gregory Rousseau had a bad game. I think the whole defensive line had a very solid second half and kept Bo Nix in check. But Phil, I'm going to let you go first this week. Who is the one player or players that need to step up for the Buffalo Bills to advance to the AFC Championship, where they will take on either the Texans or the Chiefs?
Yeah, Rousseau last week actually went 2 tackles, 1 sack, 2 tackles for a loss. Von Miller had 0 stats across the board, even though he did look pretty good. But Rousseau in the stat line did much better than Von Miller. For me this week, it is Bernard, Milano, and Johnson. And the big three for me, obviously, the Ravens offense is ridiculous. Lamar is ridiculous, and Henry is also ridiculous. And those three were missing the last time these two teams played each other. And in that game, Williams actually led the team with 12 tackles. Douglas had 7. And then this trio combined for 6 each of Spector, Lewis, and Cole Bishop. So the first time these two teams played, the Bills defense was hurting quite a bit. And then in this last playoff game, Bernard, Milano, and Johnson led the team in tackles. All three of them were at the top. So to me, in a game like this, especially after we saw Milano be a bit of a spy for Bo Nix in the last game, those three, especially missing from the first game, are going to have to be huge to me in this game to keep the Ravens' offense at bay. Their offense is very scary, but it is missing Zay Flowers, and if you can keep Henry and Lamar contained, which is not easy, but those three are going to have a huge, huge part in it, and if they can find a way to do that, this game will go much better than the first game where all three of them were missing.
Yeah, I agree. Whenever you have to have Spector in there, it's not going to go well.
And Cole Bishop, who played like once.
Yeah. My biggest question for you with those three guys there, and there's been a lot of talk this week, and I guess I will ask you about it because it's been a big talking point out there. For Derrick Henry, he's a monster, especially in the cold. Players are going to have to make business decisions. It's going to hurt worse with him coming down the train tracks. Are you interested? And it's tough to say because Taron Johnson's one of the best slot corners in the entire league, and Buffalo plays him nearly 100% of the snaps. Facing a Baltimore Ravens defense, you know how Dorian Williams plays. You've seen him play. You like him in spot starts. He's a very good, reliable backup linebacker that can come in a pinch. My question for you is, how often or how many times would you flop out a Taron Johnson for a Dorian Williams when you might know it is for sure a running down with Derrick Henry across from you?
Yeah, I think that'd be the big part of it. Like, can they get in situations where the offense, where the defense knows the offense is running, or if somehow the Bills get out to a early quick lead and then it switches to the Ravens trying to pass a bit more to catch up. And, in those situations, you're going to have Taron Johnson out there a little bit more, covering the linebackers who are both going to be big for them, Andrews and Likely. I think that would be the issue with putting Williams out there. I mean, not that he's bad in coverage, but Taron Johnson's one of the best out there, and I don't think you want him to be missing when they're already missing Zay Flowers. They're going to be relying on their tight ends. But like you said, in obvious running downs, I would probably want Williams out there to get a little bit more bulk and a really good tackler. Like we said, in that first game between these two, he led the team by far with 12 tackles. So I do think it'd be good to have him. So I could see more of a rotation in this game than in previous games where Taron Johnson might just be out there a little bit more because he's really, really good at what he does. But especially in a cold weather game where, like you said, business decisions are going to have to be made, you might want Taron Johnson, especially after what happened to him last game where he almost kind of got knocked out for the game. You might want him a little bit more rotational to make sure he's staying fresh for the whole game. Not having him in there in a cold game where he could get knocked out by, putting his face in front of Henry and having a bad time with it. So I could see more of a rotation in this game. I don't know if you want to, I don't think they'll go nearly like 50-50 or anything, but like you said, like in running back situations or running downs, I could see them switching it more frequently just to get the bigger bodied Williams in there.
I agree, especially after you've seen what Dorian Williams can do this year. He's a lot better than he was in his rookie year. I think they have more trust in him than they might have either earlier in the season when they first matched up against this team, or even for sure last year when they had to rely on him for the
even though they were
round. But yeah, this is it's a massive game. Buffalo cannot lose 4 straight divisional rounds, even though I had them picked to lose in the wild card round before the season started. But yeah, this is the must-see TV that everybody has been watching for. And for me, it's not player, it's players, and the players can become a player. And I know that made that more confusing, but I need one of the pass catchers, not named Shakir, to step up. They're going to have to keep up with the Ravens. The Ravens are going to put up points. This defense can only contain them so much. Derrick Henry's going to have 1 or 2 big runs, whether they go for touchdowns or not. He's a monster out there. You can only hope to contain him. You can't stop him. Same with Lamar. If Zay Flowers is not out there, Yes, it does benefit the defense a little bit, but it's not like he's this wild superstar wide receiver, but he's a very good wide receiver that is relied upon in that offense. One of Coleman, Cooper, Kincaid, Hollins, Knox, somebody else has to step up besides Shakir. Shakir is going to get his. He's going to have between 5 and 7 catches again for like 60 to 80 yards. It's guaranteed, but you're going to need somebody else to step up, even if you want to include Samuel in there. I did hear on the radio, and I've heard multiple times, that you're not going to throw at Marlon Humphrey. He's a lockdown cornerback. He's probably going to lock down one side of the field. But you can target the other cornerbacks, whether it's Travius White, whether it's the Stanley, I believe his name is. Stanley, if I should look his name up, but I'm not going to because I don't really care right now. But I'm pulling it up now because I don't really want to go through and not say who it is. Regular season. It's not popping up. Whoop-de-doo. I'm just going to go with his name is Stanley. He does not play well against big-bodied receivers. That's Coleman, that's Cooper, that's Hollins. If they can find the right matchups, we need one of these pass catchers to step up, regardless of who it is. It can even be Kincaid. It doesn't matter. Somebody else besides Stevens. That might be it. Stanley, who knows? But yeah, that would be my players to turn into player that I need to step up in this game. It can be one of them, it can be a multitude of them, but it needs to be somebody else besides Shakir to step up in this game if Buffalo's going to walk away with a W. You can't just rely on James Cook and Josh Allen to make magic happen. One of these pass catchers has to step up. I don't care who it is, just need one of them to.
Yeah, last game they did a really, really good job spreading it out, and everybody kind of stepped up. Which has been their motto the whole year. Everybody eats. And last game, I feel like it was one of the first times we've actually seen everybody truly have a pretty good game. As far as lockdown corners, that's the weird thing with the Bills to me, is that because they don't have that wide receiver one, it's interesting to see who a lockdown corner locks on to, because there's no alpha in this. So I could see Amari Cooper being just a decoy out there for a lot of this game. Like, hey, go run some routes, which, I don't know. He's still been a huge disappointment to me, and I know he has flashes, and he's a really good wide receiver. I just don't know if they're utilizing him at all, or maybe he is simply running out there to be a spy, even in the last game. Oh, my God, Surtain? Is that right? He's their lockdown corner. Maybe I saw him on Cooper a few times, so maybe he literally is out there to take out the lockdown corner, so everybody else can do what they want to do. But I think you're going to see, I don't know, a lot of weird looks in this game, but like you said, everybody kind of has to step up. It's going to be another, hopefully not, but it could be another Bills-Lions game where you need to score almost every possession. You need to get at least 3 points, if not touchdowns. You're going for it on fourth down. You're trying to keep up. You're trying to play a lot of offense. So in that situation, you're going to need a lot of different guys to step up. And hopefully Ty Johnson and James Cook are two other ones that can step up and keep playing what they did, because owning the time of possession would also really, really help in a game like this. And you cannot fall behind against a team that can just run it down your throat. But fun little side fact before we move on that I was looking up for funsies. Can you tell me how many rush yards Mitch Trubisky had during the regular season?
I think I've heard this. He was in the he got out of the negatives and was in the positives at one point, but I'm assuming it's back down to the negatives with the kneel downs. I'm going to say -1.
For the regular season, he had 1 yard.
Okay.
So he
got back to the positive.
He was negative or zero every single game he played except the game against New England. He put up 12 yards, and that 12 yards put him in the positive for the season. And then he had -3 against Denver. I just thought it'd be funny to look up, because I feel bad for him every single time he goes out there. He just taking a loss. It's all he's known for.
I remember the year Reggie Bush was on the team, and he ended up with a negative yardage for the season. And I think he was one of the first players ever to do that. But
he had a decent amount of attempts too, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a decent amount. I think it was that long negative for like -18 or something that really did him in. But we will please, Buffalo. I don't want to be recording late and off a loss. For the love of God, please get out of the divisional game. Make it a quick game like it was last week too. Have it over by 9 o'clock. I know we're not going to get that wish, but Sabres. Here we go. Wednesday, they did win. 4-2. They are the first team since the late 60s to win a game, score a goal, without having a recorded shot in the third period. Unbelievable. 4-2 win over Carolina. McLeod had 3. Cousins had the other one. UPL 35 of 37 save shots were 37 and 24 in favor of Carolina. They're 17, 22, and 5, 39 points, 9 points back of Columbus, who's in the final wildcard spot. They're even in games. I don't really want to talk about this game. McLeod, good for you. Whoop-de-doo. To me, what happened on Monday is just another level of embarrassment for this franchise. They had the Blue and Gold Insight, which was a sit down with the season ticket holders, and this was not talked about enough, whether it be on social media, wherever. This was not talked about enough. It was supposed to be players/management, and they found their way out because they said players and or management. So technically, by that wording, you weren't supposed to expect management to be there. They sent out Bo Byram, who's been in trade talks, Phil. They sent in Zach Benson, who's 19 years old, and they sent in Jack Quinn, who's bouncing back this season, like coming off a major injury and playing well of late. They're cowards, like absolute cowards. Like this meeting and this sit down with the season ticket holders was for them to learn stuff about the organization, to say like, hey, ask questions, like, hey, what's going on with the arena? Are we going to be getting new seats? Like, why should I maintain having season tickets? And they sent out 3 players that, like, Bo Byram's hasn't even been here a whole year. Zach Benson's a young 19-year-old that doesn't really know what the hell's going on. And now you got Jack Quinn, who is looking for a new contract in this offseason. Like, how can, like, and they lower the giant jumbotron down right behind 3 players. Like, they're such cowards. Like, this organization can't take any type of criticism. They won't run crying anytime something happens. It's pathetic. Like, every time, and I'm not even gonna say every time I think they're hitting rock bottom, because this is just like on top of it. It's pathetic. Like, how do you not send out somebody like I can't even remember his name, but he's the one that's tweeting all the time, handing out stuff. Like, it's one Buffalo weekend. You got the Sabres playing Friday, Bandits Saturday, Bills Sunday. You can win tickets to all 3 games. Whoever the heck it is, Pete Grimaldi, I think his name is. How do you not send him out there? How do you not send Kevin Adams? Like, I know, you know what's going to be asked, and that's why you didn't do it. If you can't manage season ticket holders who are spending their money to come watch your team and watch your product and keep the money flowing for you, and you can't take questions from them, like, you're in the wrong business. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if I know I'm just like a podcaster sitting behind a microphone, but if I'm doing something wrong, I'll face the music. Like, I've been wrong so many times on this, and I've come on this podcast and owned up to every single one of my mistakes. Every time I'm say something stupid and it doesn't come true, whatever it is, I come on this show and I own up. That's one of the few things that I'm actually good in life, is admitting my mistakes. If I mess up, I'm going to admit it. But I'll face the music. They can't face the music. They're cowards. Like, this whole organization not only is weak-minded, it's a pathetic organization. Now they're cowards on top of it. I don't even want to talk about their win. Like, who cares? Like, you're setting your franchise up for just doom and gloom forever. It's I don't want to be ranting about this anymore. We didn't check anything off bingo, so maybe that's the next thing that I'm angry about. It's just been a long time since I had anything on bingo.
Yeah, I mean, the other issue with that is, like you said, of who you threw out there. Like, if you're not going with management, which is insane, especially when you have management like Lindy Ruff, who might not know everything about the insides, but he's been a Sabres alum, Sabres everything forever. If there's anyone who can at least talk to the season ticket holders that they'd be excited to see and probably have a honest mutual conversation with. Like, I don't even think they'd be angry at Lindy Ruff. Like, they're not going to... to me, I don't think they would get heated with him because he's been such a big part of this organization forever. So, like, why are you not sending someone like him out? Or in general, your team captain can't go out there, or Alex Tuck, who can probably talk a little bit as a veteran, Tage Thompson, who's been around. Like, you throw out the youngest players on the team almost, like, all right, go get them. Like, if you're Bo Byram, who I don't think he has a choice because he's an RFA, so we'll see. But, like, even Zach Benson, Jack Quinn, like, all 3 of them, that's such a bad feeling for them to have to get thrown into this situation. Like, if I was them, I'd be like, why are you picking me? Like, I don't want to do this. Like, this isn't my job. This shouldn't be part of what I'm doing. Like I just said, like, there's captains on this team. There's veterans on this team. Why are you throwing out 3 youngins who have barely been on the roster to go talk to these season ticket holders who are beyond upset with an organization that's failing, and it has nothing to do with these three players. Like, Byram's been fine, Benson's been amazing, but he's 19, and Quinn, like you said, it's on a bounce back. Like, these three players aren't the reason this organization's terrible, and they shouldn't be the ones owning up to it to season ticket holders. Like, you have veterans, you have coaches, you have management, like you said, you have season ticket holder management, you have a GM. Like, it's so ridiculous that these are the three you would pick as a sit down to talk to these like season ticket. Like, it's just insane. I think it just keeps going back to, which concerns me a little bit because I don't know what it means for the Bandits, but sell the team if this is how you're going to treat season ticket holders and this is how you're going to react in these situations, like cowards who don't seem to care about the team they own or want to own it anymore. Then sell it. Like, move on. Like, I mean, the Bills are doing amazing. Hitch your wagon to that. They're worth billions. You've made all your money. Sell this team for whatever you want to. Like, even if he takes a loss, who cares? You made tons of money. It would worry me a little bit about the Bandits because I don't know what that would mean for them, but get an owner in here who cares at all about this organization, even a little bit. Like, it's just another line of just the jokes that this team seems to be playing on their fans and season ticket holders who, how they have any at this point, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a slap in the face to all the season ticket holders. Like,
It is. Like, they're trying to hold on, and you're like, this is what you're going to run out in front of us to keep us in there. Like,
yeah, you brought a number back with Lindy Ruff as your head coach, and you kind of ran out of ammo now. It's just, I am not a season ticket holder. I'll never be a season ticket holder. One, because it's so stinking expensive. But two, like, what have you done for me that makes me want to give you my money? The only Sabres games I'll go to are the free ones that you get with your season tickets with the Bandits. Like, that's it. Like, the Bandits have done everything. The management of the Bandits, it's top tier. Like, I don't get why the Sabres just can't do anything about it. And guess what? The number one, and you saying, like, the care thing, we keep hearing like Terry Pagula cares, like he's talking on the phone all the time. Then show anything, like any type of care, like everything that you're doing shows nothing that you care about this franchise and this organization. They're cowards. Like, that's just another thing that we can pile on top of a dysfunctional franchise. Like, it's 16 teams, eight from both conferences make the playoffs. And you're about to be 14 straight years without doing it. And one of the years you invited like 26 teams to do it, and you weren't one of them. It's a repeat. And now we added the word cowards to it. Should have had that on the bingo board. But they face Pittsburgh on Friday. Who cares? Still not at 40 points. I think they're one of like four teams. They're the only ones in the East that haven't reached 40 points. But Phil, before we dive into the rest of the show, which is all Bandits focused, let's go over our sponsor of the show, Tap That Tap Room.
Tap That Tap Room's at 363 Delaware Street in Tonawanda, New York. They are Buffalo's first women-owned self-pour bar. PK already talked about how that worked on the last episode, but they have a giant beer wall consisting of 30 rotating taps with a variety of beer, ciders, sours, seltzers, and malt beverages.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the ciders on a reel that's supposed to be coming out this weekend, but Friday, the 17th, which is today, hopefully, if you're listening to this. If you're listening to Saturday, you missed it. 3 to 7, happy hour. Whole wall is discounted. We say it every Friday show, but if you're interested in any of the 30 rotating taps, that is the time to go, because not only can you just sample whatever you want, it is discounted. Then 8 o'clock that same day, Sonic Legacy is playing with live music. They do it better than everybody else. They bring in multiple in-home, and not even in-home, but local bands playing live. What's better than some live music? Cheer on and go support some smaller, more unknown bands that can make it big, especially from around here. You know, Goo Goo Dolls made it big, so why can't some of these other smaller bands? Saturday, the 18th, Bandits Watch Party. We say it every time. Best place in North America and around the world to watch the Buffalo Bandits play. 7:30, ticket giveaways at halftime, and sound is on every TV. We say it every time. And I keep saying we say it every time because I can't say it enough. It's the best place to watch it because the sound is not overpowering. You can still communicate with the person right next to you. But if you want to be tuned into the game, it is loud enough to hear. And then Sunday, the 19th, Bills Watch Party at 6:30, beer specials all night long, and I said it last time and it worked. This could be the last time you watch the Bandits at Tap That Tap Room until next season. The Bills, thank you. Bills. Bandits will be all season long. Bills. I said it last time, so maybe it'll work again. But 6:30 beer specials all night long. So to find out what else is going on at Tap That Tap Room, check out their Facebook page, and to find out what's on tap and what's on deck, check out tapthattaproom.com because they have something. I thought you were going to say it, Phil, for everyone. I pointed to you. I was waiting for it.
Your screen kind of froze for a second. I was like, oh my God, did I lose him?
That was me. I'm freezing again. We've had that issues before. I probably should have done that. We'll move on to the Bandits here. We didn't really fully address it last show because there was just so much to talk about. It was such a small blip on the radar, but it kind of blew up and it went viral. And for good or bad, however you want to view this, I think we have to address it here. We address pretty much everything that goes on in the league. The league they had a fight between Belter and Gash, if you haven't seen it. It went viral. It reached the Joe Rogan podcast. It's been seen tons and tons of times. But the biggest question is this even good for the NLL or the growth of the league? To me, it's only good for the league if it actually draws people in. And I don't think this is going to do it. Like, I don't think a one lucky punch from another team is going to draw new fans in. I don't think it's going to do that whatsoever. What I think it's going to do is it's just going to say, like, hey, if you have a group of friends, like we have friends that don't watch lacrosse, whether we try to get them to watch it all the time, doesn't matter. I feel like they would have sent us this clip of it and we would have said, oh yeah, like this has been making its rounds. Like if this was another team, like say it was Panther or not Panther City. We were talking about Panther City because they're still in the NL Whoops, whatever. If this was Ottawa versus Toronto, I feel like they would have sent us this clip like, hey, this is going viral. Did you see this? It's not going to make them go out and watch the game. And that's been my point all week on social media is I just wish that the attention wasn't on 1 5-second clip of a game that's probably going to go down as one of the best games all season long. Like, one fight isn't going to draw in new fans. No matter how much the league is going to be continue to push it. Like, I wish that instead of just, and even Brett Fruit, credit to him, on Twitter, somebody posted that thing and like, hey, if this is how lacrosse is, let's watch it. And he goes, okay, what about like the 28 goals or the multiple big hits or like the 18,000 fans in Banditland? Like, why is that not the biggest thing? And dude, you own, like you're in charge of the NLL. That's your media. They're the ones tweeting that out. Like, why wouldn't you draw attention to this? It's a 30-second clip of like, the game was one of the best you're going to see all year. Big hits, the goals, the controversial calls, the timing goals, like the crowd, the excitement. Yes, there were fights, but one person, if you could sit them down and watch that game, I don't know how they don't say to themselves, hey, is this like how the games are played all the time? Like, is this crowd like that all the time? That's been my biggest issue is the attention is put on the wrong thing when you should be advertising the game itself. There's small steps that can be taken to continue to grow this league. I just don't think that this 1 30-second clip is the way to do it. I think their attention is in the wrong area. Yes, it went viral, and yes, there's plenty of eyes on it. But does that really draw more fans to the sport? I don't think it does. Like, I really don't think it does. Out of the thousands that have seen it, how many people are actually going to see that and then go, okay, when does the next Bandits game play? Like, how can I watch this sport? I don't think this is the way to do it. I think they're marketing it wrong, and I think they should have focused fully on the game rather than one small clip of a lucky punch.
I see both sides. I think for a league that is this small, when something does go viral based on it, you have to ride the wave while you have it and have everybody's attention and just kind of have eyes on. Like you said, I mean, Joe Rogan, like, they were going over, like, oh, has this happened in lacrosse? He even called it a new sport. I was like, well, that's not. Nope. I mean, this has been going on for a long time. But that's the thing. Like, if it reaches someone like him who's never seen the NLL before, doesn't know it exists, and all of a sudden he's like, oh, if that's what happens, that's kind of cool. Like, I'd like to look more into this. I think what you could have done, which would have been tricky, but what they should have done is, like, sent the fight out there, because fine, if that's what, like, draws eyes to it, I think anything that goes viral for this league is good, whether it's, you know, fighting or whatever. But I think it should have been, like, have this clip out there and then also have a link to the rest of the highlights and been like, hey, like, exactly what you said, like, even in, like, the write-up of it, be like, hey, this was, you know, one fight in a crazy game with 18,000 fans with 28 goals, like kind of like make it this big spectacle of like, yes, we're focusing in on one little clip that hopefully goes viral, but have in your breakdown or in the description of the clip the entire game, and then have like a little YouTube, like a little link to the YouTube page of like, hey, these were the highlights. Go watch the rest of the game and see how great this sport is, see how amazing it is, and maybe you will want to go watch it, not just for fighting, but for the whole thing. But from a very basic standpoint, if something is getting this much attention and gets any kind of eyes on the NLL, for example, that people now know it exists at all, I think it's huge. Do I think, like you said, like, I don't think it necessarily means somebody's going to go to a game, but next time they're flipping the stations, which we always say, like, eyes on the game is huge. So next time they're going through ESPN Plus and they see the NLL pops up as like an option, a league is like live now when NFL's gone, like, oh, that fight was in that. Maybe I can watch a game randomly. I don't have a team, and maybe I'll get to see a fight. How exciting. Like, what is this game? Like, now that there's nothing to watch because football's gone in February, March, April, whenever. And then they're just like, flipping through stations. They don't know what to watch. They throw an NLL game on because they saw that fight, know that the league now exists, which is still wild. They get it small, whatever. So I think in that aspect, like, when something like this does go viral, which is seemingly pretty rare for the NLL because we don't have too much to talk about like this that often, I think you need to ride that wave and get as many eyes possible just to know that, hey, there's a professional lacrosse league in America. Maybe next time you see it on ESPN Plus when you're flipping, like, go watch it. Sit down and be like, oh, I remember that fight from that game that I happened to see a clip of. I do know what the NLL is now. I know that it exists. I don't know what it is, but I know it exists. Maybe I'll throw a game on, and then maybe from there, they start to like it. Like you said, yes, from our perspective, because we know how great the NLL is. We know how great lacrosse is. We know how exciting it is to watch it. Like, from our perspective, we want them to know about what an amazing game that was. Like you said, and I agree, it might be the greatest single season, like regular season game that happens this entire year. I know there's already been a lot of close battles, a lot of 0.1 victories left in the clock in a 19-18 game. Like, there's a lot of that, but like, this was one of the more complete games across the board, with fights, with goals, with lead changes, with everything you could possibly want. Rivalry, like you said, big hits. Like, this game had everything. And from what we want, which is people to enjoy the entire game because it's incredible and amazing, I think the NLL's like, oh my gosh, like, this is going viral just so people know we exist at all. Like, we're a league. Hey, come possibly check us out at some point in your lives. I think, like, I get it from what you're saying and what you want, and I get it from their kind of more maybe realistic perspective that, like, I don't know, like, they just need to, like, oh, this is blowing up, hit it. Like, just spam the heck out of it. Hopefully it blows up, and we just get random eyes on it so people know that, oh my God, there's a lacrosse league in the in America / Toronto, or Canada, sorry. But yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, and I see what they're doing, and I think it needed to be closer together, kind of like merge the two ideas. But I do get what they're trying to do of just something blew up in the NLL is actually viral and just go with it. Just ride it and hope for the best kind of thing.
I can see that. It just kind of reminds me of when we started this podcast early, and it's like, oh my God, like, we have this thing that kind of blew up. Let's just, you get so giddy and excited about it. But we're a small podcast that's been going on for 4 years. They're a league that's been going on for 35 years. Like, it shouldn't just be, oh my God, this thing's blowing up. It should be, okay, this thing's blowing up. What should we do to market ourselves? And it feels like they didn't do squat to do it. It's just like, okay, there's this 1 30-second clip. Let's just keep retweeting it and keep getting it out there. And oh my God, it's on Joe Rogan. But it's not like, okay, if you love this, you'll love the rest of the game. Like,
yeah,
there was 10 ties, 10 lead changes.
That's what I think
like,
they missed.
Yeah, they just keep kicking themselves in the foot. Like, they keep doing, they're going this far when they need to go this far, and it's just like they hurt themselves. And that was my biggest thing all year long from Saturday on. It's just the attention to me is on the wrong thing. It should be on the game itself rather than 30 seconds of a clip of just a random punch. Like, it to me, it's just they did completely wrong, and they kind of kicked themselves when they did have a hot thing. They did not market themselves correctly. And the second
Agreed.
thing is, yeah, don't DM players, don't message players. Like it goes back to the same thing as fantasy football. Like it's they're playing a game for your entertainment. It's kind of pathetic to have people go out of their way to message players, whether good, bad, or ugly. If Bandits players are messaging Gash, if NL fans and Toronto fans are messaging Belter, it's uncalled for. It's stupid. You never message players because they're real people. Like whether you think they're just figures on the field to entertain you, just it's stupid. Don't tag players if it's something negative. Don't DM them. Like it's stupid. Just keep your comments to yourselves. And if you got anything nice to say it. But if you got anything mean to say, it doesn't really work. It's kind of stupid. Like we try to keep this as positive as possible. We'll call things out when they need to, but we don't personally attack people because it's not the right thing to do, and it's going to come back and bite you in the butt. But Phil, more positive news. Bandits Fantasy game top 10. The top 9 are actually the same people, just a little shuffling, but we have a new top 10 or number 10 person. We're going to go over the top 10 real quick. Jackson B, 396, retains his number 1 spot. Phil maintains in second with 381. But PK right here, moves up 2 spots into third with 354. My wife is in fourth, 348, up 2 spots. Tim K is up 2 spots at 346. Brad D falls down 3 spots at 344. Nick B also falls down 3 spots, 335. Stacy K stays in 8th at 322. Mike D stays in 9th place at 312. And Janelle L moves up 7 spots up into 10th place at 309. Everybody's wondering, where the heck is producer Pat? He went from 21 to 13. The biggest riser was Eric K. Went from 27 to 15, a 12-spot jump. The biggest fallers, though, Jessica S. goes from 11 to 19, or I'm sorry, 11 to 19, and Dan S. falls from 15 to 23rd. Phil, I also want to go over the top players real quick because Jackson B., if he would have had Dylan Robinson over Cam Wires, he would have had the best possible lineup you possibly can have. But top tier, number 1, Dane Smith's coming in at 129. Tier 2 is McKay at 84. Tier 3 is Weiss at 69 points. Dylan Robinson is leading Tier 4 at 35. Farrell in spot number 5 is 42. And Scanlon on the practice squad, only one with points down there, 42. Phil, how is it up in second place? I'm trying to climb back up to you.
It's good. It's good. I mean, there's some good separation between Jackson, me, and you. So we're doing all right up here, up in the clouds. He's pretty high up in the clouds. He's going to be tough to catch up to, but we're hanging. And congrats on making it to the top 3. Welcome to the big boys.
I'm gonna try to hang out as long as possible. Farrell's got to settle down with the loose balls. That's what's killing me right now.
Yeah, it would help. It would help.
Yeah, Dawson, block some more shots and get some more loose balls, bud.
Keep up what you're doing. You're doing fantastic.
Priolo, I know it's just your birthday the other day, and you got your own podcast, and you're trying to kick us to the curb. By the way, it's a great podcast, but I think it's a great podcast because he's stealing all our content. He's using a lot of the same stuff we are, and I know he doesn't listen to this, but it just feels good that a player and us are pretty much seeing eye to eye. But yeah, go check out his podcast, Dinner with the Captain. It's great. It's fantastic. If you want a more insider's perspective of a player rather than just us seeing what we're seeing, if you want a perspective of a player actually on the field, seeing it and dealing with it, Dinner with the Captain, it's on Spotify and YouTube. Go check it out. Of course, I think they said it on the broadcast. Of course, a player like Steve Priolo has a podcast and doesn't tell anybody. It's fantastic. Go listen to it. But game to talk about here. Saturday, I'll be up in the box for this one. Phil is back down inside of Banditland. Raucous crowd. The 4-0 Buffalo Bandits take on the 4-1 Philadelphia Wings. Who saw that coming? I didn't. I'm writing out my apology note as we speak, and I said that in the power rankings. Buffalo 5-0 the last 3 years versus the team. In the 21-22 season, they won 17-5 and 17-12. 2022 to 2023, 13-9 and 13-12. That was the overtime winner. I believe it was Kluch scored the game winner. And then last year, they won 18-12. It was 5-3 at half. Or, I'm sorry, 5-3 after one, 8-5 at half, 11-9 after three. Buffalo held a early fourth quarter lead, 12-11, and then scored six straight. Byrne had a really good game, 3, 8, and 11. Smith went crazy, 5, 7, and 12 for the Wings. Reziteris 3, 5, and 8. Katoni 4, 4, and 8. Jones 2, 5, and 7. But they had Higgins at that point. So I was like, okay, I can't really give the stats on that. When was the last time they faced Damoud? And that was when they lost to Panther City. He went 51 of 62 in net. Byrne was able to beat him 5, 2, and 7. Smith definitely struggled to try to beat Damoud, though. 2, 5, and 7 on 17 shots. Byrne had 15 shots. Bucky had 10. There was no Frazier in this game, but they had a tough time beating Damoud the last time they faced him. I know that was versus Panther City, but it's the same goaltender that's going to be playing for Philly now. So it's there's a lot of crossover between these two teams. A lot of former Bandits playing with the Wings now, but it's going to be a battle between these two teams. And Philly, this type of Philly team has not. This Philly team before the original Philly team has not beaten Buffalo in the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, highest scoring teams, I believe, in the NLL per game, and also the 2 biggest goal differentials. So this is about as good as it gets. I mean, I know Toronto and Buffalo, the rivalry is much more heated, so that is a different type of fantastic game. But talent on talent, as far as how the season has started, this could be a huge, huge game. And this is a massive, massive weekend for Philly, who plays Monday. Vancouver in their other game.
Yep.
And so, I mean, this is a weekend where, I mean, they could knock Buffalo 4-1. They could end up 6-1 and knock off 2 of the other best teams in the league and pretty much be the undisputed number 1 team in the league, arguably. And at the same time, they could lose both of those games and be 4-3 in a much different situation, while Buffalo goes to 5-0 and beats them in a head-to-head. And depending on how the other games go, I mean, it's just a huge weekend for Philly. I mean, if again, the 2 extremes, yes, they can go 1-1, and then it's not really as bad. But if they win both, they look really, really good and arguably the best team in the league. And if they lose both, they're close to 500. Just gave Buffalo their 5th win to move to 5-0, and you've dropped in the standings and you've dropped in power rankings and how people see you. So this is a big weekend for Philly. Coming into Buffalo is not ideal for them, but it should be a really good game. And I think this is a good test for Buffalo. We haven't really seen a huge. It's so weird to say that Buffalo hasn't been tested yet when Ottawa is all of a sudden one of the better teams. Rochester has been on the rise. Like, Toronto's been a team that, yes, they're now 0-5, but they're one of the greatest, one of the best defeated teams ever because they stay in games and look really good. I mean, it's weird to say Buffalo's 4-0 without being tested when a lot of their games have been against pretty good teams, but this is arguably the best team they've faced so far as a complete team. It's arguably the best goalie because Rose, I don't know what he was doing last game. He was all over the place for some of those goals, but Damoud has been shaky to start, but now he's on the rise. So Philly, in theory, is the most complete team that Buffalo's faced so far. So I think this could be really the best test we've seen, and I think it's good for Buffalo that they're coming off of a really good Toronto game where they were tested, they had to be resilient, they had to fight back a ton of times, only led the game for 5 minutes at the end of the 4th, and that was the only time they took a lead pretty much. So I think that was good to get that game out of the way going up against a very competent and very good Philly team, because now they know kind of like what they did poorly against Toronto. They know that how to pick it up in a tight game situation, and this could be a close game.
So Philly is 4-1, like we mentioned. They're on a 4-game winning streak. They lost 18-15 in San Diego to open the NLL season. They went 9-10 and 15-9 victories over Las Vegas, a home and home. They won in overtime versus Saskatchewan, giving Saskatchewan their only loss 12-11. Katoni won that one in overtime, and then the 1:00 game last Saturday, they won 13-11, a comeback win over Calgary. We kind of talked about that before, but this is the highest scoring teams in the NLL this season. Buffalo coming in at first, 15.25 a game. Philly, 14.2 in second. Goals against, Buffalo first in the league at 8.25. Goals against for Philly, goals against 11.8, which is 8th in the league, about mid-tier. We got power plays. It is the best power play versus the best penalty kill. Philly is first at 69%. Buffalo down at 35%. tied for 12th, but their penalty kill is in first at 68%. Philly is down at 11th at 50%. So this could be a big test to see, hey, impenetrable force versus immovable object with the Philly power play, which I believe they have like 19 power play opportunity. I think they're 14 of 19. So they got a big sample size versus Buffalo, who is tops in the league at the penalty kill. So it's going to be a job for Buffalo not to be baited and to stay out of the box, because Philly can light the lamp on the power play.
Yeah, I want to say that they're not going to be baited into a game like this because it's not against a team like Toronto where they just really hate each other. But after we saw a lot of last game, honestly, yes, there was some baiting, but at the same time, it was just inconsistency with the referees and what they were calling. It was a little bit all over the place. So hopefully, if this is a consistently called game and Buffalo knows what is being called a little bit more frequently, hopefully Nick Weiss keeps his helmet on. We won't have that penalty, and hopefully there's not a toe on the turf for an extra man penalty as well. If we can avoid those, they should be all right. But yeah, I mean, this is a game. I mean, could I see it getting heated? Sure, but I really don't think it'll be heated anywhere near what Toronto was. Those two teams just absolutely hate each other on just an extremely different level. I don't think anybody in the NLL even comes close, and I don't think this game will really come close. Even if it's close score-wise, I don't think the intensity will be up there like that. So I don't think the Bandits will have as big of an issue. Will they still get penalties? Absolutely. I don't think they've ever had a flawless game probably in their entire organization, but I mean, will they get 2, 3, 4? Yes, it's about not getting 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's about limiting those opportunities for the power play. And even like you said, I mean, with the penalty kill for Philly not being good at all, and the power play for the Bandits struggling quite a bit. I mean, they really should be a lot higher in percentage. They have the offense. It's incredible. This is a huge game for them as well. I mean, Philly is going to try to do the same thing that the Bandits are going to do, which is stay out of the penalty box, because even though the Bandits are 12th this year so far in power plays, they still have the offense to be incredible on the power play, so it's still something they want to limit. But this is a great opportunity for the Bandits power play as well to take that jump and hopefully be a little bit better for scoring, 2 of 3, 3 of 4, and get that percentage up a little bit.
So we'll go over the players to watch now. We're about 53 minutes in, so we're going to start flying through this kind of stuff. Yeah, right? Lefties, Holden Cattoni, number 19, Mitch Jones, number 24, Blaze Reardon, number 10, and the rookie first overall pick last September, Brennan O'Neill, number 34. For the righties, Phil Caputo coming over from Panther City, number 16, Sam LeClaire, number 92, and the point leader in the NLL right now is Joe Resetarits, number 15. But I dove into these numbers a little bit more because I was like, there seems to be a discrepancy here. And there definitely is. With the lefties right now, I know there's 4-3, and I know Callum Crawford played in one game, so the numbers are that are not included in these numbers because he's not on the team anymore. But for the lefties right now, they got 47 goals, 62 assists, and 109 points on 133 shots. That's 35.3% shooting. Pretty stinking good. For the righties, 23, 39, and 62. Shots, 101, 22.8%, and the majority of that is Joe Resetarits. To me, you got to cover the lefties, man. Like, it's you got Blaze Reardon, who's coming in at 13 points, but you got Brendan O'Neill, who's proving that he is not just a normal rookie in this league. Mitch Jones and Holden Cattoni are tied for 8th in the league in goals at 14. They're both in the top 10 in points. It's just this team who I came into the season worried and saying, hey, they're probably going to be a little bit better than last year, but I don't think they're a playoff team. They're looking like a title contending team right now between their defense, their goaltending, but especially the forward group. They're lethal out there, and 14.8 goals per game is showing it, but everybody on that offense is contributing one way or the other, but especially on the lefty side.
Cattoni was a trade?
Yes, he got traded over from Rochester last offseason, I believe.
Yeah, huge pickup for them, and he
wasn't healthy very much last year, so that might have contributed to Philly's struggle last year.
Yeah, now he's looking like he should have if he was healthy, and he's looking really, really good. I'm excited for this. Again, for me, I love when the Bandits play top teams because I love seeing where they're at, where their defense is at, where Vince is at, where the offense is at. I just like them facing really tough talent because then you get a better measuring stick. Yeah, it's fun to crush bottom teams, but it doesn't teach you anything about the team. It's just another victory and good to get a win, but that's all kind of it ends up being. A game like this, especially like you said, one of the best offenses in the league outside of Buffalo. How will the defense respond to last game? How will Vince respond to last game? Both of them were down a little bit. Yes, they had great second halves, great fourth quarters, and ended up pulling that win out, but they all admitted they just didn't play how they wanted to play. They weren't playing well enough. Now you have an actually, no offense to Toronto, but a much more talented offense coming into Buffalo. How will they handle that? How are they going to handle the rookie? How are they going to handle covering so many different people? Will Vince have a big bounce back game, which usually I feel like through our research over the years of covering, he has one bad game and then bounces back with an incredible game. So expect a bounce back, but it's going to be interesting. And I'm excited for that challenge for the Bandits and to see how they stack up against it because, like you said, Philly is looking lethal right now. I mean, anytime you score an average over 14 goals per game, close to 15 for both teams is really, really high of an average.
Yeah, and they did it against San Diego, who has Chris Oriolari. They've done it against Frankie Ciliano in net, so it's not like they're just going against chumps in net as well. But defense in transition, Scott Dominy, number 13. He's 8th in the league with 50 loose balls. Liam Patton, another one coming over from Panther City. 11 caused turnovers. That's 4th in the league. Connor Sellers is there. Isaiah Davis-Allen, number 26. Alex Pace, who's having a quiet season, number 41. Tyler Burton right now is their faceoff man, winning 39%, 37 and 94. You also have Nathan Furr, who is 49% though, so you might be facing one of those two guys. It'll be very interesting to see how Connor Farrell matches up if they send out both guys. Ryan Wagner, Mike McConnell's having a quiet year, and then the player that I really want to mention here is Anthony Jochum. I jokingly said on Twitter before the season started when he got released from Albany, I went, somebody might want to pick him up because he's been to 3 straight finals. Whoever picks him up is probably going to the finals. Philly picked him up, and they're sitting at 4-1. I'm not saying, I'm just saying that maybe I was right in the offseason. But block shots, it is not something that Philly does. They've got 19 block shots on the season, 3.8 a game. In reference for Buffalo, who's played in one less game, they have 34 block shots, 8.5 a game. So this is not a team that's going to be looking to block those shots in front of Damoud. So you're going to be able to capitalize on that, especially if you get some power play opportunities. You're going to be able to get it through and on Damoud.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird to see because the numbers are a little bit skewed, in my opinion, because of that first game being 18 to 15. Outside of that, though, their last 4 games, 10, 9, 11, 11. So, I mean, they're holding teams to under 11 goals a game. Again, this is weird, but, I mean, Buffalo 15, another game where you're going to have to score a lot, possibly, especially to keep up with Philly's offense, depending on how the Bandits' defense does. But yes, I mean, their goals per game doesn't look fantastic on paper with them being 8th, but realistically, the last 4 games, they've looked much, much better, especially as Damoud has settled in. So again, another big test for the Bandits offense, who's looked pretty much unstoppable the entire season. They really haven't had a down game or anything. But it's going to be another pretty good test, even if, you look at the stats and it doesn't really say that. I think over the last 4 games, Philly's been a much better defensive team, so I think it is going to be another test for the offense, and it'll be interesting to see how they do. But, I mean, with those block shots not really being a thing, I think that helps the power play numbers, and that's kind of why possibly their penalty kill isn't very good. They don't have the Wires and Dawson Towers standing in front of Vince, blocking all those shots and making the penalty kill number 1 in the league, and at the same time, you might see more shots from the outside. You might see more shots from around the field just trying to get through because their defense doesn't really step in the way of them. So sharpshooter like Byrne might have a really good big game in this one, just shooting from the outside. McKay last game had a few outside shots that went down, and Smith loves his deep bounce shots. So if those are all kind of allowed to get through, you might see some more outside shooting from the Bandits, just trying to trust their ability to shoot from outside and score on those plays.
Yeah, this could definitely be a more Chase Frazier game than a Buchanan or Nanico type of game. I expect and even multiple players were saying, like on the bench, like still And I think you were one of the ones that mentioned it as well. Talking to Chase Frazier, saying, "Hey, you're going to get your time. You're going to get your opportunity here. You just got to be ready for it." I think this could be a big 4 or 5 goal game from Chase Frazier, and maybe not so many assists, but with those lacking of block shots or lacking of willingness to block shots that Philly has, with the shot that Chase Frazier does have, this could be a bigger Chase Frazier type of game and a less Buchanan Nanakoke type of game that they tend to thrive in front of the net. Like you mentioned, it could be more sharpshooters from outside, and that could capitalize on a Burn or a Frazier type of player. But Nick Damude, like we mentioned, 4-1, 11.87 goals against, and a 78 save percentage. Now, week 1, he allowed 17 goals on 34 or 51 saves. But the last 4 games, the last 4-game winning streak they had, he's got a 10.25 goals against and an 81.2 save percentage. So he's been able to figure it out. I think that's going to continue to improve as the defense learns in front of him, because you got to remember, he's only played in 5 games on this team. The defense has to adjust to him, and he has to adjust to the defense. The last 4 games have kind of showed it. I know 2 of them were against Las Vegas, and they just faced Calgary without Dane Doby. But those numbers are still really, really good, especially in the NLL right now, where the scoring is up and everybody can light the lamp when needed.
Yeah, and one of those was Saskatchewan, but I think they were also missing.
They were hurt, and they
people.
didn't have Shanks. They didn't have Robert Church as well. And Ryan Keenan hadn't woken up yet.
All right, so what we're saying is Philly's terrible, and they've only played bad talent lying. With no play.
Everything we said, throw it in the garbage. We'll restart the podcast.
Vegas is terrible, and Saskatchewan, without their top players, easy victory. But Damude, I've always been a big fan of his. I thought he was great last year.
Goalie of the year, yeah.
Yeah, he's on his way. I don't know, but we'll see. He is, I think, better than what he started at, and I think he will continue to grow, even not only just for this team, but for the league. He's still a very young goalie. He's still learning a lot. I think he is on the rise in the league as one of the better goaltenders. But like you said, as the defense learns with him and he learns with the defense, I think he will continue to get better and better as the season goes on. Yes, as we just uncovered and didn't want to, poke the bear, but yes, their last winning streak here has been, a little bit easier than maybe on paper it suggests, but still, you still have to go out there and make those saves. You still have to go out there and play really well. I mean, anything, I would say, 79% and over for a save percentage is really good. Anything in the 81.2 where 80-plus save percentage is really, really good in the NLL. And I know Vince is through the roof, even with his one bad game. He's still amazing. But anytime you can get over 80% for even one game, let alone a 4-game streak, is still really, really good. So yes, the talent they're going up against might not have been great, but he's been really solid in net for them the last 4 games.
So we went over all the players, the numbers, even though we just said they're all lies. What is your score prediction for this game?
It's tough after last game.
Right.
Toronto really took it to them. I mean, I know they made the halftime adjustments, and Philly, as we just said, everything's a lie, so it's tough to predict Philly right now. But I'm going to go still Bandits heavy until proven otherwise. Even in a really tough game, they still came through. I mean, our prediction for Toronto was way off. Wasn't even close. I'm going to go 15-10.
Okay, that's a little bit better than I had. I got them winning 13-11, I believe. 1 second. Yes, 13-11. I do think it's going to be a little bit closer. I believe that Buffalo is going to be able to handle Philly's offense. I think those numbers are a bit jumbled because of the big 15-goal game in San Diego and the 2 games against Las Vegas where they kind of ran it up. But I think with the added factor of Matt Vince bouncing back, you do have to give credit where credit is due with Philly. I mean, they're still putting the ball in the back of the net, so I do have to give them 11, but I think it's going to be a close, fun game where I don't think it's going to be nearly as physical as it was last Friday, not even close. I think this is going to be 2 really good lacrosse teams going at it and being able to make critical stops and critical saves when need be, and big-time goals when need be as well. That's why I got it 13-11. A closer game, but I think Buffalo comes on top, and I'm probably going to continue to pick them to win it. I know eventually they're probably going to lose one, but Until proven otherwise, I'm going to keep rolling with the Buffalo Bandits. Not because I'm biased, just because of how stinking good they've been this season.
Yeah, and they're continuing their trend from last year of 2 years ago, third quarter was their big quarter. Last year was fourth quarter. This year, once again, it's fourth quarter, and it's still not even close. They are outscoring opponents in the fourth quarter 22-7. All the other ones are pretty close. I mean, 12-6 in the first, 15-9, then 12-11. Their third quarter's horrible. Fourth quarter, though, lock it down, score a lot of goals, and win all the games.
Yeah, they're going for win 14 in a row, including playoffs. So they're
I forgot. They said so many numbers last game, especially against Toronto, and how long it's been since they've been able to beat the Bandits. But I do believe they gave the minutes that the Bandits have won home games, because they're on a ridiculous home game winning streak right now as well, and just winning streak in general. And all the numbers for the Bandits right now are through the roof. Fun
Yeah,
times.
a lot higher than I can count, so I'm not even going to worry about it. Milestone, fastest milestone minute in all the land. I really got to do it because we're already at a minute 05, or an hour 05. It would be fun if it was just a minute 05 because we could keep talking. But all these possible milestones can be found on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. We post them leading up to each game, so if you miss one and you don't want to listen back, you can check for them there. We got a few more this week than we did last week. Away we go. Nick Weiss is 2 assists away from 100 for his career. He averages .66 a game. Josh Byrne is 9 loose balls away from 400 for his career. He averages 4.21 a game. Chase Frazier is 5 loose balls away from 300 for his career. He averages 3.88 a game. Cam Wires is 7 loose balls away from 100 for his career. He averages 4.23 a game. Chris Cloutier, if he does play, he's 2 points away from tying Troy Cordingley for 9th place Buffalo Bandits history. Remind me if you've heard this for 4 straight weeks now. He averages 3.5 points a game for his Bandits career. Justin Martin is 1 caused turnover away from tying Alex Hale for 8th place in Buffalo Bandits history. He averages .52 a game, and Chris Cloutier is still 2 loose balls away from 300 for his career. He averages 4.14 a game because he's still hurt.
I love Justin Martin, but he has 1 caused turnover on the year. We know he's not a big stats guy, and he's still amazing, but you might be saying that one for a little while.
It could be, yeah.
And Cloutier needs to get back in the lineup. He
does, just to cross these 2 out. A lot of loose balls this week. Nick Weiss, normally I would say like 2 assists away from a transition player is going to be tough, but Steve Perillo just had 3, and Nick Weiss just went 1-1-2 last week, so it's very possible, especially in this type of game. But NLL outlook, 8 games on the docket. We'll just run through these really quick. Vancouver starts the weekend only Friday game, 3-1 versus the 3-2 Ottawa. Black Bears Friday at 7 p.m. Then a giant slate on Saturday. 2-5 Rochester does it again versus the 2-3 Halifax Thunderbirds Saturday at 6 p.m. 4-1 Saskatchewan faces the winless 0-5 Toronto Rock Saturday at 7. 4-2 Colorado does it again with Albany, who's 1-5 Saturday at 7 p.m. 4-2 Georgia tries to get off the 2-game losing streak versus the 2-2 Calgary Roughnecks Saturday at 9 p.m. 3-3 San Diego go against 1-5 Las Vegas, who's having a monster giveaway. Absolutely love what they're doing out there. Saturday at 10 p.m. and then this Sunday game got moved to Monday because of the Philadelphia Eagles game. 3-1 Vancouver faces the now current 4-1 Philadelphia Wings Monday at 5 p.m.
Also, for people complaining about the Philly change in schedule, the NFL is infinitely bigger than the NLL. So, the NLL, no offense to them, we love them. We've seen how many bye weeks for the Bandits because they can't even get in their own arena or other arenas around, not NFL related, just concerts and Sabres games and whatever. They're far behind the NFL. It's going to happen. But the rest of the league, all of these games have huge implications. There's I still have no idea what's going on, but there's finally a week where there's a lot of teams we can cheer for and cheer against just based on the standings. Like Toronto 0-5, you want them to beat the Rush, knock them down a peg. Albany 1-5, they don't scare me a ton right now, especially because Buffalo gets to play them. So you can knock them back down. Hopefully they beat Colorado, so knock them down a little bit. Calgary, if they beat Georgia, beat them up a little bit. Vegas, I don't see them beating San Diego, but hey, anything can happen. Beat them up a little bit. And then the Vancouver-Philly game really depends on what goes on that first game. But there's a lot of games where you can kind of, finally pick a winner or somebody that you want to win or cheer against. It's starting to spread out a little bit in the standings. Not much, but just a smidge where you can start picking who you want to win based on the standings just a little bit, which is nice because I feel like we haven't had that yet too often so far this year.
Yeah, especially it took us till week 8 for at least our NLL pick'ems that come out on Wednesday. You can check out the social medias for
Still
that.
all over the place.
It's the first time in a long time, time all season, where we've kind of been picking and choosing a little bit differently on that pick'em. So it definitely shows that some teams are kind of separating more than others right now, and you're kind of seeing top dogs and bottom dogs, and then like a jumble in the middle. But yeah, it's a full slate of NLL action that runs from Friday till Monday. Don't worry, we'll be back on Monday to talk about all these games besides the Vancouver and Philly game, because that's obviously going to be playing after this episode comes out. But Phil, we went about an hour 10, kind of expected a longer episode. Phil, is there anything else with this episode before we shut it down and get ready for Bandit Land on Saturday?
Go Bills. Go Bandits. That's the only teams in Buffalo right now, so that's all I got.
Very true. On our next show, again, this will be we'll start recording after the Bills game. Bills versus Ravens, we'll talk about that one. Good, bad, or ugly. Please be good. I don't want to stay up late and have to record a sad episode. Bandits versus Philly, we'll talk about that game. Remember, I'm up in the box this week. Phil is back down in Banditland. Wave to him, wave to me if you see me. But yeah, that will wrap up this episode, and we'll crank it down and get ready for the Monday episode, which we will cover everything that happened this weekend. That pretty much wraps this all up. So the only way to wrap this up is to say thank you for listening to another episode of the Buffalo Sports Collective. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok, once again, while it still lasts, at Buffalo Sports Collective, and on X and Blue Sky at Buffalo Sports Co. Visit our website at buffalosportscollective.com. You can check out Phil's article that dropped on Tuesday. Mine dropped on Thursday. Check out our store on our link tree on our socials or at the shop tab top of the website. Follow our channel wherever you listen to podcasts, including YouTube, and leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. Until next time, bye-bye.